Well, there's very welcome relief in the troubled world of aviation industry today. We have seen manifestations of this with the announcement by Qantas that it will end its 30-year sponsorship of the Wallabies and cease financial support for the national cricket and soccer teams as they desperately try to save cash. I cannot be critical of Qantas here. The CEO is Alan Joyce, with whom I've had a few arguments in the past. But you have to be fair. He's taken an 83% pay cut. I cannot say the same of politicians and public servants. This, of course, is a major blow for Australian rugby, but you can't pay where there's no money. Qantas has stood down 20,000 staff and announced 8,000 redundancies. The reality is the aviation industry is in a diabolical state. South Australia has now decided to open its borders with New South Wales. Virgin, Qantas and Jetstar have all said that flights between Sydney and Adelaide will be significantly increased in the coming weeks. Now, I suppose it's an injection for tourism, but it's very limited. I've got on the line Stephen Byron, who's the Managing Director of the Canberra Airport, and what a diabolical mess he has had to deal with. Stephen, thank you for your time tonight. What does this mean to you?
Well, it's a glimmer of hope after 5 months of being almost fully shut down. We've been shut down 98% for 5 months, and we hope that now we'll restart travel from Canberra to Adelaide, and also the ACT has been opened up from Friday to Queensland.
You wrote to me at the beginning of the month, what you told me was staggering, that you had no flights or passengers on Saturdays, and on Tuesday, a fortnight ago, you had 19 inbound passengers, 24 outbound, and you normally have 9,000 a day. And this is Canberra, which has been free of coronavirus. It's never had a single episode of community case transmission. This is overreach by government, surely.
Well, we've had nowhere to fly to. We've been unable to fly really anywhere other than Canberra, Sydney. And as you say, we've been shut down with our passenger numbers down over 98%. What that means, though, is that really 98% of the jobs have been shut down for 5 months. Yes. So there's 20,000 people at Qantas, there's 15,000 people at Virgin, all waiting at home, suffering their mental health anguish with their families of not having a future for their families and their children.
But the ACT, I mean, you're a resident, there's been no coronavirus, yet it was prohibited from flying to South Australia and Queensland because you were deemed a hotspot and you can't fly still to Tasmania, WA or the Northern Territory. What about international travel? I mean, shouldn't we be able to choose whether we want to fly international? If there's a risk, take the risk.
We think that's right, and that Canberra is coronavirus free, and so is really New Zealand, certainly the South Island of New Zealand. We've been saying since June that we should have flights between Canberra and Wellington, the two COVID-free capital cities of our two countries, and we're certainly hopeful that that will come soon, because if Australians can come back from New Zealand without having to quarantine, and there's no need for them to quarantine, then that will free up room for other Australians to come back and use the limited available hotel rooms in quarantine.
See, Stephen, you quote Section 4774C of the Biosecurity Act, requires that the directions imposed by the Health Minister are, quote, no more restrictive or intrusive than are required in the circumstances. And Section 4774E requires that the imposition of the requirement only, quote, applies as long as is necessary. So this draconian stuff is in contravention of the Act itself and been hopelessly costly. Can you people survive?
Well, you know, as a business, we sort of have to survive, but I think what I worry about is how do all of the people that are at home without jobs, how do they survive with effectively no time frame and no certainty about when they might come back? So whether they're people with Qantas and Virgin, whether they're people with the catering companies or, you know, even the retail outlets at Canberra Airport, they used to employ 62 staff. They now employ 2 staff. That means 60 people have lost their jobs in that small microcosm.
Dreadful. Keep in touch with us. Keep the information coming through, Stephen. Good to talk to you, albeit in continuing sad conditions. Thank you for your time. That's Stephen Byron, Managing Director of the Canberra Airport.